Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Our focus today is simply on water. Protecting water sources can reduce health risk associated with hazardous agents, and source water protection safeguards public health by ensuring the quality and quantity of source water used for drinking water. My first guests represent a cross-city network that fosters connection, collaboration, and broad community leadership on behalf of our common waters. Brenda Coley is the co-executive director of Milwaukee Water Commons, and Kirsten Shead also serves as a co-executive director with the organization. Both ladies are committed to social justice and community engagement. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So happy to have you both here. And you say the central team member for your organization is water. So if you would tell us more about Milwaukee Water Commons and what it is you do.
You want to start, Kirsten?
Sure. So Milwaukee Water Commons, you kind of shared our mission there at the beginning, but we really believe that in order to be a thriving city on the water, that we need to all have a stake in the care and the stewardship of our waters, and we also all need to receive their benefit. And so we look at water protection, we look at community engagement, we look at celebration of water, we look at issues of water, all through the lens of being stewards and really seeing water as our friend, and not purely as a commodity or as a resource, but as something that really needs to be cared for and can bring us a lot of benefit.
We share in the
Absolutely.
benefits of water. We see water as a friend and a gift. And we really work to engage people back to the water who have been disengaged through no fault of their own.
Yeah, and when we keep in mind that, a large percentage of our bodies depend on water, made up of water, and then we look at some of the third world countries, we have to sometimes be reminded just how blessed we are to have the waterways that we have and have the clean and safe drinking water on many occasions that, like I said, a lot of times we take for granted. Stated on your website, when it comes to water sources, the most familiar to us in Milwaukee is the 10,000-year-old Great Lakes system, and it's connected to the southwest shore of Lake Michigan, of course. So talk about your connection with Lake Michigan and some of your goals and initiatives associated with it.
Well, we're very lucky to be in the Great Lakes region. We are probably the capital of the world when it comes to having fresh water. We're very blessed to have this gift of water. We have Great Lake Michigan, and we have 3 rivers inside of our city as well. So we are a water-centric city. And our relationship really is to make sure that we have, or to encourage and engage our community around having an expectation of drinkable, fishable, swimmable waters in all of our waterways. And what does that take to do that? And we have programs and initiatives to address those issues and concerns, and to really build the capacity of our community to become water leaders. And so it's something that we have to steward, and we have the responsibility to really pass on clean drinking water for the next 7 generations. We have what we have. We're not going to have any more. It's not infinite. It is what we have, and we have to take care of it.
Yes. And so when we talk about some of the conversation that has taken place in Milwaukee, specifically about the lead laterals and the unsafe drinking water due to those lead pipes, what has been your stance on dealing with that?
Well, we've said that we agree with the health professional that no level of lead in our water is safe, not for anyone, for children or adults. We know that there are higher risk groups. We know that that if you have a lead lateral going to your house, that we need you to know that that's there, and that needs to be removed. So I think our stance is that this infrastructure predates us. It was here before any of us, made the decisions to put it in, but it needs to come out. And we have to find a way to get those lead laterals out in a generation, not in, 70 or 100 years when we've had 3 or 4 generations, at risk. We have excellent clean drinking water that's brought out of Lake Michigan and treated to be safe for us. And it's really those lead straws that are the most dangerous going into our homes. And we want to keep focus on getting that infrastructure removed. And until it's removed, we want everyone to know how to filter their drinking water to protect their families.
There are 70,000 of these lead laterals that have to be replaced. And when we talk about shared benefit of the water, we also believe that vulnerable communities should share in the benefit of that infrastructure dollars coming down. And so that means living wage jobs for communities that are experiencing lead laterals in their homes and our vulnerable population. So we are also advocating on a federal, state, and local level to be sure that these jobs and these resources around water are equitably distributed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thank you for shedding some light on that. We will be talking more about that particular subject in the next segment with our next guest. I really do appreciate your perspective. So let's talk a little bit about the Milwaukee River and some of the positive changes that have taken place when it comes to the river. As far as your organization's concerned, what positive changes have you seen take place?
Well, I'll first talk about, we have a program that before the pandemic, for 2 years in a row, we sponsored an open water swim at the point of the confluence. And this is where the three rivers sort of dump into Lake Michigan. The Menominee, the Connecticut, and the Milwaukee River come together and go into Lake Michigan. And we sponsored an open water swim. And so we have all kinds of reasons why we want to really raise expectations and show that water quality in Milwaukee River has changed. It's not perfect. We test up until the day for 2 weeks, up until the day that we have that 1.5 mile swim. So we can't swim in it every day, but there are times when it's sort of safe. And and we talk about really access to the waterways and that everyone belongs at the water.
We have historic contaminants, from industry, from, bad environmental policy, whether that was 100 years ago or 50 years ago, that has left these, toxins. We call them legacy toxins, they're in the river. And there's a historic cleanup that's happening right now called the Area of Concern. And that's really where, we're receiving federal support to clean up this historical contamination to make our rivers safer and cleaner. And we have been part of that strategizing and discussion of how we do that, and really wanting to make sure that the community knows that it's happening, knows how they can influence and participate in decision making, and also, again, receives the benefit for all of that workforce that's going to need to be used in order to do that cleanup. So we've come a long way in Milwaukee. The river is far cleaner than it ever has been, and we have a long way to go, and that's really why we exist.
And we're talking Milwaukee Water Commons, we're people and planet. We believe in an intersectionality around environmental justice and those issues. So we must clean up this ecosystem and bring back those habitats that is really sustainable for our planet and for our people.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So are we still looking at water levels rising at unprecedented rates when it comes to Lake Michigan?
We're not actually. So the lake has gone down, and it's an interesting conversation around lake levels because that was a historic high, and when Lake Michigan was high, that meant our rivers were high, and that meant that the water was high underneath bridges. It caused all kinds of trouble. I mean, some of that is a natural cycle. We know that the lake levels rise and lower, and that's why we have certain ways of managing shoreline and making sure native species are there. But we also have the challenge of exacerbating climate change, which means heavier rain events in highly paved areas and more frequent, and with stormwater infrastructure that we know needs upgrading or needs to be expanded. And so I think we have the challenge of the lake levels. We also have the challenge of localized flooding because of these heavy rain events. And that's why we really look at, climate change and our water is deeply interconnected.
Wow, learning so much in this conversation, really. And as we kind of wrap things up, Milwaukee Water Commons believes that we all have profound responsibility to protect and pass on clean and abundant fresh water to future generations. And you definitely spoke on that, Brenda. Tell us, as we kind of wrap things up, some ways that we all can successfully do that.
I think that one of the ways that it's an interesting thing, really, to manage our garbage. And because eventually it all lands in the water, right? So, and really reducing our use of single-use plastic is a huge thing that we can do. That's not the only solution. We need more solutions from corporations on what to do with this packaging that they give us. But we really, to model and to begin to be thinking about our environment as our friend, we need to really reduce the use of single-use plastic, really get plastic bags out of our lives, carry our own bags, and don't drink water out of plastic bottles. You can have one of these things.
I have a lot of those things.
And I'll add one point of maybe a little inspirational, and that is that, every culture, the more that we've done this work, the more we've realized that every culture has water stories. We have stories, whether it's in faith traditions or in cultural narratives or in people's own lived experience. And so I really encourage people, if you want to do more for the water, connect with the water. What is some way that water has, whether it's the water you drink, the water that is near you, getting down to the lake or the rivers, these should be accessible to everyone. We want everyone to know this is our water and we belong at it. And really, connecting back to the water. And I think that's a place that'll give us, courage to do the hard work to make sure that we protect it.
One more ladies, story I'll just say.
Well, actually, we've unfortunately run out of time. So I hate to cut you off. We're going to have you back because I think everybody is definitely being educated today. So I thank you ladies both for joining us today. It has been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.
Brenda Coley and Kirsten Shead are co-executive directors for Milwaukee Water Commons. For more information on anything that we've discussed today, you can visit their website at milwaukeewatercommons.org or give them a call at 414-763-6199. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll continue our focus on water. We'll talk to a local activist who is demanding answers when it comes to the ongoing concern with lead in water issues in Milwaukee. We'll talk to Robert Miranda from the Freshwater for Life Action Coalition right after this.